In the hushed glow of a Halloween night, when shadows whisper and the veil thins between our world and the next, what might you dare to discover? Would you creep along the forgotten paths where tales of ghostly haunts and eerie happenings cling to the chilly air? Welcome, curious souls and brave hearts, to a special tale of midnight mysteries and unexplained wonders. Join us as we peer through the creaking gate of the unknown in tonight's story, The Last Light of Willowby Hall, where anything can happen, and often does, under the watchful eyes of the full moon. In the secluded town of Willowby, shrouded in the whispers of falling leaves and the chill of an encroaching winter, stood an ancient manor known as Willowby Hall. On this Halloween night, as shadows clawed their way across the moonlit earth, young Emma, a writer with a penchant for the paranormal, decided to unearth the mysteries of the old Hemsley estate. Armed with nothing but a notebook, a camera, and an insatiable curiosity, Emma approached the iron-wrought gates that groaned their warnings to keep away. Legends told of old Mr. Hemsley, the last of his lineage, who vanished on a Halloween night decades ago, leaving behind only whispers and a house caught in a timeless gloom. As Emma pushed open the gates, her flashlight pierced the darkness, revealing a path overgrown with thorny brambles that seemed to recoil at her touch. The house loomed before her, its windows dark, save for one on the upper floor where a faint light flickered like a heartbeat. She stepped onto the creaking porch, the wind whispering through the columns like a chorus of the damned. The door, surprisingly ajar, invited her into the shadowed foyer adorned with portraits of Hemsley's long past. Their eyes, painted with meticulous detail, followed her every move. Emma's footsteps echoed through the grand hall as she explored the ground floor, her flashlight beam dancing over antique furniture draped in white sheets. The air was thick with the scent of mildew and forgotten memories. As she ascended the staircase, a sudden chill wrapped around her, and the faint sound of a piano playing drifted down from the second floor. It was a melody sad and sweet, filled with longing. Drawn to the music, Emma found herself outside a room at the end of a narrow hallway. The door creaked open at her touch, revealing a grand piano in a moonlit corner, its keys moving softly as though pressed by invisible fingers. Near the piano stood a portrait of a young woman, Mrs. Hemsley, as the plaque declared. Her expression somber, her eyes seeming to hold a secret sorrow. Curiosity piqued, Emma approached the piano, the music ceasing abruptly as she laid her hand on the aged wood. A diary, bound in faded leather, lay on the piano bench, its pages yellowed with age. She opened it to the last entry, dated October 31st, the very night Mrs. Hemsley disappeared. Tonight, I shall attempt to contact him once more. If you are reading this, I have either succeeded or succumbed to the spirits that haunt these halls. Beware the mirror in the library, for it is the gateway through which they come. A cold dread settled over Emma as the silence of the house pressed in on her. She left the room, drawn inexplicably toward the library. The door was slightly ajar, and inside, moonlight illuminated a large mirror framed in ornate silver. Emma's reflection stared back at her, but within the depths of the glass, shadows moved, forming shapes she couldn't quite discern. With each step closer, the air grew colder, the whispers louder, until they were a cacophony that seemed to scream from within the walls themselves. Emma reached out a trembling hand towards the mirror, her reflection reaching back as if to warn her away. Just then, the light in the mirror flickered, and a face appeared behind her own, a sorrowful visage that matched Mrs. Hemsley's portrait. The ghostly figure reached out, her mouth opening in a silent plea or warning. Emma couldn't tell which. Overwhelmed with fear, Emma stumbled back, knocking over a candelabra. The light from the fire it sparked reflected in the mirror, and the apparition vanished. The whispers fell silent, and Emma, heart pounding, fled from the room, down the stairs, and out into the cold, moonlit night. As she looked back one last time, the light in the upstairs window flickered out, leaving Willowby Hall to its shadows and stories, waiting for the next curious soul brave enough to uncover its eerie secrets. As Emma fled from the ominous embrace of Willowby Hall, the night seemed to swallow her whole, the darkness thickening with every panicked breath. Her flashlight flickered erratically, as if the very air around her conspired to plunge her into darkness. Her heart raced not just with fear, but with a burgeoning realization that the stories she had chased, those woven into the fabric of the old house, were more than mere tales. They were warnings. Despite her urge to escape, curiosity gnawed at her, a reminder of why she had ventured into the Hemsley estate in the first place. With trembling hands, she halted and turned back to face the manor. The moon, previously cloaked by wisps of cloud, now shone brightly, casting a spectral light over the house. The upper window, where the light had flickered and died, now glowed once more with a soft, pulsing light. It beckoned her. Compelled by the part of her that was a writer, driven to uncover the truth beneath the layers of fear and myth, Emma steadied her breath and walked back towards the house. Each step felt like wading through a stream against the current, her body resisting the pull of her mind's demands. She re-entered the house, the warmth of the indoors clashing with the chill of the night air that clung to her skin. The library door was ajar as she left it, but the room was now bathed in an unnatural calm. The fallen candelabra lay on the floor, its candles snuffed out, yet the mirror on the wall shimmered with a light of its own. Emma approached it cautiously, her reflection now steady in the glass. The whispers began anew, softer this time, more melodic, less menacing. They seemed to echo from the depths of the mirror, words unintelligible yet soothing in their cadence. Emma reached out, her fingertips brushing the cold glass, and the surface rippled like water touched by a gentle breeze. In the mirror, the room behind her shifted, the walls fading away to reveal a lush, moonlit garden that certainly did not exist in the reality of Willowby Hall. The figure of Mrs. Hemsley appeared again, her form clear and more substantial this time, clothed in a flowing gown that fluttered in a non-existent breeze. She smiled, a gesture so full of sadness and beauty that it rooted Emma in place. "Thank you for returning," Mrs. Hemsley's voice was clear, her lips moving in sync with the words that floated to Emma's ears. "I need you to listen, for my time here is short." Emma nodded, her own voice a whisper. "I'm listening. I was trapped, my spirit bound to this house by my own deeds. The mirror is the key, the conduit through which the spirits of this house walk. I tried to harness it, to bring back my beloved, but I only succeeded in opening a door I could not close. You must seal it, for both our sakes." "How?" Emma asked, her gaze locked on the spectral figure. "In the garden, under the light of the full moon, there is a stone circle. Complete the circle, and the door will close. But beware, the spirits will try to stop you. Go now, while I have strength to hold them back." The mirror's surface rippled again, and the vision of the garden faded, replaced by the reflection of the library. The whispers turned into howls as Emma turned and ran from the room. She raced down the corridors, her path illuminated not just by her flashlight but by the ethereal glow that seemed to guide her steps. Outside, the garden was bathed in moonlight, the stones of the circle visible among the overgrown weeds. Emma worked quickly, finding the missing stones scattered around the garden and dragging them into place. As each stone settled, a cold wind rose, carrying voices that screamed and pleaded and threatened. Shadows moved just beyond the edge of the light, circling, closing in. With the final stone, Emma shoved it into the gap, completing the circle. The wind screamed, the voices crescendoed into one agonizing wail, and then silence fell, heavy and absolute. The moon shone brighter, the garden peaceful under its light. Exhausted but relieved, Emma walked back to the house, her steps light, her heart still racing but no longer from fear. The mirror, when she returned to the library, was just a mirror, reflecting nothing but the room and a young woman whose belief in ghosts had perhaps, for the first time, shaken. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, Emma left Willowby Hall behind. Its mysteries no longer whispered but quieted, the stories of the past laid to rest. Her own story, however, the story of one Halloween night at Willowby Hall, was just beginning to be written.